gosh, good morning, happy whatever day it is, Tuesday. Welcome back to another work vlog, work day in my life as an archivist. If you're new here, hello, my name is Sheila. I'm an archivist living and working in Pennsylvania, and if you're not new, welcome back, friends, to a very chaotic morning. I am struggling today. I'm ready to start over, clean slate, start over, because I'm in the car ready to go to work. I am so sore today from working out yesterday, which is like a really good thing, but I'm not, my body just couldn't handle the workout I did yesterday, and I feel like a slug today. Like, I've been moving at a snail's pace, going into work super late. Thankfully, I don't have to be at work at a certain time today, so I'm grateful to be able to have a slow morning. So I'm calling in a slow work day, and my word of the day is surrender, because at this point that's all I can do, because I literally lost my phone and I went in the house twice. Like, I came out to the car, had all my stuff ready, realized I didn't have my phone, went back inside, went upstairs, looked everywhere, couldn't find it, come back out and was like, maybe my phone's in my bag. It was not in my bag, so I went back in a second time, had to bother George, who is currently working at home, to call my phone, and then I found it. It's in my bedroom in the most inconspicuous place ever. Like, I secretly hid my phone from myself. It was like hiding behind a picture frame in like an area where I don't normally put things. So I'm just very off this morning, but we're starting over and we're doing a work day in my life at the archives. I'm going into work, and then I'm gonna do a Q&A tomorrow, because I feel like I owe my subscribers that are here for the archive stuff a Q&A. Oh, also, I wanted to mention that I am listening to the Hand on the Wall audiobook by Maureen Johnson, which is number 3 in the Truly Devious trilogy, and I just finished The Vanishing Stair, which I really loved. Definitely liked the second one over the first book in the series, and Hand on the Wall, I've just started it, so we're getting into that, and I'm really excited to see how that ends. But I'm gonna listen to that on my commute, because I have a long ass commute. I also feel like I sound nasally because my allergies are like, all right, let's go to work.
Maybe now the school year was beginning in earnest. Why I came to you, he said to Janelle.
We have our game plan for the day. It's a lot of projects going on at once, and I'm just basically blocked out some time throughout my whole day to work on each of the different projects, with a few little tasks in between. And this is something I created for myself yesterday, of just what to focus on this week. These are all the projects that are happening, and they all relate to like my overall like goals of what I want to achieve in the archives this year. So we're just really just working on chipping away at those projects, trying to get things done. So let's go do it. Progress was definitely made, and of course some things have come up that I need to add to my to-do list, because that is working at an archives. And now I'm gonna have lunch because I'm hungry, and a break is well deserved. get into this Q&A. Currently working from home, just had my lunch, curled my hair because hair, and let's get into it. Okay, so all these questions are going to be like archives, career related, and all I did was go back to like my archive work vlogs and pulled some questions from the comment section. So thank you to everyone who has commented on those videos, and thank you if you asked a question. I tried my best like back then to answer questions or reply to your comment with an answer to your question, but I pulled some questions that I think would be really good for me to expand on in a video. And I don't know, maybe I could do these Q&As more often whenever I do a vlog, or just depending on when questions come in. So if you have any more questions that I don't cover in this video, feel free to drop them in the comments. Also, I didn't include anybody's names because I want to keep your information identity private. So disclaimer on that one. But first question is, what inspired you to follow your studies? And basically what inspired me to become an archivist, which is a great question that I think would help a lot of people, students who are either in high school or college and trying to figure out what they want to do, you know, what they want to be when they grow up, or what they want to do in their career. And honestly, I'm gonna try and give the abridged version of this because I could literally do like a 30-minute like talk on my entire like timeline and journey to where I am today. But before I became an archivist, I didn't want to be an archivist. In high school, I wanted to be a photographer or a photojournalist, and I actually went to art school for almost a year to study photography, and then ended up dropping out for a lot of reasons, and then took a year off from school, and then re-enrolled in a liberal arts four-year college with an undeclared major, or undecided. But basically I wanted to go back to school, but I wasn't sure on a major. I just knew I wanted to get back into studying, and I was gonna take some gen eds to kind of explore what I was interested in. And at that point, I was interested in either doing like photography, sociology, or history. Those were like the majors I was really finding myself drawn to and that I was doing well in. And then fast forward, I think maybe like my sophomore year, I finally declared history as my major. And then junior year, I want to say, is when I took an introduction to public history class. And that class basically introduces you to different careers in the public history field. And public history just means you work in a history field that does not include teaching. So I know I did not want to be a teacher. That was just not my thing, but I wanted to do something within history because I love history so much, and found that I had skills that I could apply into like the public history field. And within public history, you have like museums, you have archives, you have national parks, you have libraries. There are a lot of different areas within public history that you can find a career in. And at some point during that class and that semester, I decided I wanted to be an archivist. It sounded something that aligned with what I was interested in and what I enjoyed doing. I ended up getting an internship at a local historical society where I was going to school, and that's where I kind of was able to get hands-on experience with typical duties that an archivist would be doing. And I really just focused on digitization and scanning. I actually scanned old postcards, like local history postcards, and then was able to put those scans and images onto a blog. So I was able to kind of incorporate my creative side into preserving history and making history accessible to the public by putting them online. By the time I graduated, I knew I was going to go to grad school to pursue a graduate degree that would help me get a job as an archivist. And so that's kind of like my career journey. And I guess I don't even know if I answered the question, like, what inspired you to pursue your studies? It's a good question. Like, I really, again, love history and preserving history, and then using history to teach, but not in a traditional classroom setting. Like, I really love storytelling. Like, that's what you do with photography, and content creation and being on YouTube is I love telling stories visually with a camera. I wanted to do that, but outside of the creative field. And I think working within the public history field allows you to kind of preserve history, but also share history and I wanted to also make an impact with, my career. And I think knowing your history, sharing your history, learning history can really help us solve problems that we're experiencing in our day-to-day lives. So that's a really abridged version of that question. All right, next question. What do you do to become an archivist, and what courses did you take? So there's a lot of different ways to become an archivist, and I can share my experience, and then I can share like traditional paths that I have seen or wanted to do and people I know have taken. But I just want to like preface that you don't have to do this. This is not the blueprint. This is just my experience and what I'm aware of. And to be honest, I kind of feel like an imposter sometimes when I show up and show up on here and I'm like, I'm an archivist, because I feel like my journey isn't the like traditional like journey that you might see or hear within, you know, schools. Also, I graduated from undergraduate in 2013, and then I got my master's degree in 2015. So time has, you know, gone by, and I don't know if this might be relevant to you now in 2021 going into 2022, but just disclaimer there, I don't feel entirely qualified to give advice on this, but I am gonna share my experience. But for me, I got a bachelor's degree in history and had internship experience while I was in undergrad, and then I went on to get a master's degree in applied history. That is what the school that I attended called it, but applied history and public history are basically the same thing. Then I had different grad schools that I was looking at, and there were different schools that like had true like archival degrees, like an MLIS is like a library science degree, and that was something I was thinking about doing, but there was just so much extra work needed to go into the application process, and also money was also a factor that determined what I ultimately did with my next moves with school. So I did not want to take the GREs, which I don't even know what that acronym stands for, but that was kind of a requirement for a lot of the bigger schools that I was looking at, where I could get like an archival specific degree. So I ended up just going to a state school that did not have like a specific degree in archives, but it had a very like generic general applied history degree. And then I figured I would be able to get experience there working in an archives, or take relevant courses that would help kind of beef up my resume specifically when looking for a job. Ultimately, I went to the state school, and the only reason I did go was because I was granted an assistantship, which basically is a scholarship where you I landed a job working in the university archives and special collections, which was amazing. So I was able to work there to, one, make money, two, tuition, my entire tuition was covered through this assistantship, which was amazing. And then three, I was able to gain, you know, hands-on experience right like when I went to school. So that was an amazing opportunity, and that's really how I learned to become an archivist. I did not take a heavy course load of archival related courses, and I like still think about going to get my MLIS like in the future. That's something I would love to pursue once I pay off all of my other student loans. And I see like all those courses, and I did not take a lot, like my course load was very general in public history. So I took a lot of courses where I did like a local history class, I did a lot of I did an oral history class, like cultural history. I did a medieval class, which was amazing. Just a lot of different subjects where I was able to kind of like do a whole like spectrum of what it would be like to work within, you know, the public history field. And I also took an introduction to archives theory class, which is where I learned a lot of the basic like textbook definitions and theories of archives and being an archivist. And then there was some hands-on activities, projects that we did that gave you experience. But at that point, I was already working in the university archives, and I was learning a lot there just from the work I was doing. So the course really like helped with the theory side of things to go along with the hands-on experience that I was getting. And that's really the only like specific archives class that I ever took. The next question is what to major in college to become an archivist. I've gotten a few questions on like people that share what major they're in or what major like they should be in to pursue a career in archives, which is a great question. So generally history is kind of like the go-to, and that seems to be like kind of the predominant major that a lot of, you know, friends and peers that I've been in classes like in grad school, and that's just kind of the traditional trajectory. But I am all for kind of crushing the traditional like blueprint in the career world. And I think, you know, it all comes down to what job applications are asking for or where you want to work. So if you are trying to figure out your major, maybe check out some archives job postings. I'll link some places down in the description box that I have looked at in the past, and they're a great resource for kind of to study those, look at what they are asking for the requirements, and then use that to help you kind of figure out like your path and what you want to kind of study in school. But generally like a bachelor's in history degree and then some kind of master's degree in either library science or history is like the traditional path. But truly, like if you can go into this job interview and demonstrate that you have knowledge and experience working in archives, or just a drive and passion for archiving and preserving the past, that alone could help you, you know, get the job, and less of like what's on paper. I think a lot of institutions and places that are hiring are trying to rework how they hire people as we become more inclusive and welcoming to all people, all walks of life. So that is something that is important to know when you're kind of just figuring things out in terms of like the major stuff. Okay. Next question is, how absolutely essential is a MLIS degree versus a certification program to becoming part of the field of archiving? Would a certification and experience as an intern be enough? And I feel like I kind of touched on this. I feel like, again, this is like another big topic to expand on, but like I said, I feel like there's a traditional path of like what students expect jobs expect you to have, which is like an MLIS degree, and that seems to be more qualified. That seems to be like better than just getting a straight up certificate. And honestly, I hate that thinking. I hate one, that institutions have this thinking that they won't hire you unless you have an MLIS. Like obviously that would mean they wouldn't hire me because I don't have an MLIS. So that means that they're probably missing out on somebody who has all these other skills that I can bring to the table. Just because I don't have a certain degree doesn't mean that I wouldn't be able to learn on the job and perform on the job as best as these people that have this certain degree because they learned all these, you know, things in school. That's like my personal take on it. And I think like being qualified and like certified for things is like rooted in like colonial thinking. And as I try to decolonize just my mind and also like the career and field that I am, I think like you don't need to have XYZ to do this job. You can show that you can do the job in other ways. Basically, no, I don't think it's essential to have an MLIS because I am a true example of having a successful career as an archivist without one. And I don't even have a certificate either. I don't have any kind of certification in archives. It's something that I've thought about getting and would maybe like to pursue in the future, but really a certificate really, it's just a piece of paper. And as I think about it, it just kind of makes you feel more confident, really. Otherwise, it's just something that you need to show the job that you're hiring for to be like, okay, yep, they got this. Like, what does that really mean, like deep down? Like, if you have these other skills to bring to the table, like you can't see that with a certificate or a degree. or whatever. Okay, final question. What kind of people do you think are most suited for an archival career? And this was, I think, on one of my videos where I was talking about how I work in a very small archives and I feel lonely very often because I don't have a lot of coworkers or colleagues and I'm really by myself a lot of the time. So to the second part of their question was, I'm interested, but I noticed that it can be a somewhat lonely job. I don't know if I can adapt since I like a camaraderie and a more dynamic work environment, which is, I think, such a good conversation to talk about with any career, because I've traditionally have worked in like retail and, you know, fast food, and I was always part of a team environment. Like there was always people around, and that's kind of how I always grew up working. And then once I got my first career in archives, it was there were other people there, yes, but it was a very small environment and I wasn't constantly working with other people, and I was really like my own kind of like accountability. Essentially, I was my own boss in a way where it's like, yes, I had a boss, a supervisor, but they just kind of released me to do the projects I wanted to do and just really only checked in on certain things. And even so, even more so now in the job that I'm in currently, I feel like I have even more freedom to do my own projects and make my own schedule and essentially be my own boss. But that can be really hard for some people that are used to working in a team environment or are motivated by having, you know, people around them. So if that's a concern for you of like worrying about being lonely or needing to be in a more people environment, this job might not be for you. But I will say the kind of work around that is to get a job in archives that in a bigger institution, essentially, because there are so many different like tiers of archives, because you have the really big institutions that have departments and like multiple staff members in those departments, all the way down to like an archives that's literally like 1 or 2 people, which is kind of like in the spectrum that I'm in. So it really comes down to, you know, where you end up landing a job. So I think those are very important things to take into consideration. Okay, and those are all the questions, because I feel like I am rambling on, but I hope this was helpful to all of my aspiring archivists out there. If you have any more questions, please leave them down in the comment section, because I will definitely love to film more Q&As in the future, and I think just commenting on my videos is the best way to pull and source those questions. So let me know down in the comments what else you'd like me to discuss. Also, let me know if you're an aspiring archivist and kind of just like where you're at. I'd love to connect and try and support you and mentor you in the comments. Thank you for watching this video, coming along with my workday yesterday and for this Q&A. And with that said, I will see you in the next video. Bye!